with Mary Brotherton, and we host all things books and publishing. Today is going to be filled with stuff. First of all, I have some exciting news. Y'all all know how I talk about Carrie Ann Richardson, who is like our, for lack of a better word, wonderful poster child. And I do not mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in the highest form of a compliment. She is our poster child for someone who waited 25 years, 25 long years, to get a book that is very close to her heart published. And we did it here. It's called The Chocolate Lover's Garden. It is a cookbook, a baker's book, a history book, a gardening book, all rolled into one. Well, she sent me a message this morning and said, Yvonne, can we do this? And I'm going, now what are we doing? She said, I think it's Washington Gardeners Magazine, sent her an email and asked if we could send her a PDF file for Sherry's book so she could read it and write an article about the book.
Now, wait a minute. Did Sherry go approaching them or they
No,
came
they came
finding
to
her?
her. They found her. Now, this comes from the marketing that we do here, Sherry's own marketing and public appearances, and the constant putting it out there. Sherry is involved with many, many gardening groups, many, many Facebook people that garden. She has her own Facebook page for homesteading and gardening. But this person at this magazine came to her. Talk about chill bumps. Mary, I couldn't get the PDF file to the woman fast enough.
I love it. This is such, to me, that warms my heart. It's not my book. I don't know Sherry from Adam's House Cat other than what I've seen on Facebook. But it makes me so proud and so humbled at the same time that what you do, and I do I share, but it's all you, Yvonne. We know that you promote everybody so well that somebody saw it and found it and reached out and said, "Hey, we want to do this." That doesn't happen regularly, often.
No, it doesn't. It does not. And ladies and gentlemen, the way we promoted this book is it's not just a cookbook. It's not just a gardening book. And we talk about the fact that there's history in there. This book is good for a child, even a 7-year-old that wants to learn gardening, that wants to learn history, that wants to learn how to cook with chocolate, that wants to learn how to bake with chocolate. Even if mom or dad or auntie or older sibling has to read it to them, this book is for every age group. And for Sherry to be approached by a well known gardening magazine just
This is
make,
just the beginning of her
yes,
iceberg.
it is. And I am so proud of her. She's had a hard row to hoe, but honey, those seeds are coming to fruition now. Very much so. So,
I am
Sherry,
so proud of her.
a shout out to you, my friend. And of course, all of this goes up, this podcast goes up on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music. It goes up on our website. It goes up on all of our Facebook pages. And I know Mary reposted everywhere. So it goes up on our YouTube. So we are being seen, ladies and gentlemen. Your books are being talked about all the time, even on my lives. This is what we do. So, with that being said, today Mary and I are going to talk about a hard subject, and that is when I get your book and I go through it. I format it. I edit it. I work the cover. And I go to put it up on Amazon. Each format that book goes up requires, it's not an option, requires a different guideline for sizing. Kindle looks distorted. Yeah, it's elongated. And the reason for that is because if I crop it down to nothing and try to put it up on Kindle's book cover, Kindle's going to say, hey, stupid, not happening. If I crop it down to nothing and then size it to what Kindle says, it ruins the pixelation. So then when it shows up on the Kindle page of Amazon, it's ugly. Just saying. With the
And I will
hardback,
tell you, the first time that I read a Kindle, I was pleasantly surprised because if you've never read an electronic book, an ebook, it's not done the way, excuse me, when you open a regular book, you might have space at the bottom of the chapter. With a Kindle, there won't be a space. There might be maybe a two or three hard return, or there may be a line. But the purpose of that is so that you can read the Kindle at your convenience. People who read ebooks are not like people who read regular books, printed books. It's a different format for a different purpose, because you can press a button, you open up your Kindle and say, I want to read my book, Faith and Folly, and it opens up and it says, would you like to start where you left off, or do you want to start at the beginning? Kind of like when you're watching a show on television or an episodic, it'll ask you, do you want to start this episode, or do you want to start 5 episodes down the road? But with a Kindle, you just say, yes, I want to start where I left off, and it takes you exactly where you were. And they don't want to spend there's no need to spend all this white space between chapters. So this book that I have here has 140 pages. On the Kindle, it might be 100 pages, or it might be 115, I don't know. But whatever it is, the pages are not the important part. The words are the important part.
and Kindle compresses the written word. You may have chapter 1 and then you get ready to go to chapter 2 and you see chapter 2 down at the bottom of the page that you're currently on. The reason for that is because Kindle books are read on your iPhone, they are read on Kindle, read on your computer, and for all I know, they're even read on the TV. I don't know, but they're read on different devices. And so, in order to get the entire book, they have to compress. You don't want a 500-page book on your Kindle. It eats up your memory, for one thing.
Yes. And a
And
lot
then,
of people leave their they read a book and they leave it on their Kindle to come back to later. They may not,
exactly.
they don't just read it and delete it. Oh, it made a rhyme.
You did. So if you're looking at your Kindle book that is on pre-order and the original book is, say, 280 pages and you see Kindle 266, you didn't lose 10 pages or 20 pages. All the words are still there. And Kindle doesn't use page numbers anyway. The page numbers won't even show up on your Kindle. Again, because it's a different format.
Speaking of different format, I want to bring up Faith and Folly again. I got my hard copy, and I also got my paperback copies, and this is what they looked like. And the first thing I thought was, I can't read the words. They're faded into the background. Now this is the hard copy, so it's got this little edge here. And if you look at the pages, you can see there's it overlaps. It doesn't do that with the paperback. But when I saw this just kind of blended in too much for me. So I contacted Yvonne. I said, can you fix that? Well, I thought it was going to be an easy fix. But she had already spent all the time in the world formatting it and putting it up and getting it ready. And she said, well, it'll take me a minute. I'll do it, but it might mess everything up. And if you've never designed anything before, you don't know. I could feel the disappointment in her because I know what I feel like when I have to redesign something. But she did it for me. And let me show you the back cover. This is what the back cover originally looked like. And I liked it okay. But then when she got to redesigning, she had to change it. So this is my author's copy, what they call a galley. And by the time she finished finagling, she had to resize things. And she made the title nice and white, which is much easier for me. And this bar doesn't go on your copy. But you see, she had to shrink the gesture down because she was fiddling with it and everything just went, oh, you want to change your cover? Well, guess what? You're going to have to pay for that. And the back, she made him much, much smaller, which I really love that, and put all the words up at the top. So it was so much easier to pick it up and read it. Now, would I have preferred that the gesture stay big on the cover? Yeah, I would have. But Yvonne is doing this for me and all of her authors out of the generosity of her heart. She spends hours and hours and days sometimes creating these covers. And Yvonne has been around long enough to know that if people don't like the cover, they're not going to pick up the book. If they're looking at Amazon, they're not going to press the button that says put in my shopping cart. The cover says everything. And I get it. Control freaks of the world. I'm your queen. I know what you're going through. But if you can just trust the process, it's so much better. It's so much easier.
And it's easier on the author because they can spend their time doing another book. Once you give me your book, ladies and gentlemen, and once I get it up there, move on. Because
that's what I've been doing.
Is closed.
I just sent Yvonne Steep Steps. And what have I done with my time? I started doing my marketing campaign, my pre-order marketing campaign. And you'll find on all of my social media similar looking posts because consistency is the key. But I've been making these posts. I either have reviews or excerpts from the book. And then I have things that I've written about the book that came from my introduction or my preface to tell you a little bit about why I wrote the book. And so these are all little snippets. I mean, a sentence or two, and then I put it on the post and I schedule it, and then I forget about it. I just move on.
Let's talk about Steep Steps for a minute.
Okay.
When Mary sent me Steep Steps, and because I've worked with Mary for years and years and years and years, when she sent me Steep Steps, I glanced through it and I put it up. Well, when I get to my preview of the book up on Amazon, I'm flipping through it and I'm going 34,
Ooh.
36, 34, and I went, I'm not
For
changing.
some reason, all of my 30s were wonky. I had them all switched up.
So I sent it back. I pulled it down. I had it set to go live on the 27th. I pulled everything down except for the covers. And I said, do you want to fix this? I said, Houston, we got the challenge. Because she had her chapters named. And I knew if I went in and was changing the chapters, if the chapters aren't named, I can fix the chapters. That's an easy fix. But she had all of her chapters named, and I'm going, no. So I sent it back. I said,
This looks like real work.
can we fix this? And she was at her event, which I wish I could have gone to and couldn't. And she said, when I get home Monday. So she fixed it and sent it back. I immediately flipped through it. It was all pretty. It was all done. And the covers were already up there. So all I had to do was put the book back up there. And within 24 hours, I get my email that says, yep, Steep Steps is going live
Good
on
to
the
go.
27th. And the pre-order for Kindle is live now.
Let me say one thing about that email. I, if you've never published with Amazon before, you do not know that sinking feeling you get when you get an email back that says your book's not ready. I worked with, I think it was 5 different authors, myself and 4 other authors. And I did exactly what Yvonne is doing. I didn't have Yvonne's marketing savvy behind me. I was just putting the books out there. But there was one, oh my heavens to goodness. Linda Humphreys, Cornfield Flyers of East Tennessee, gave me a run for my money. And because I was not doing it as a publisher, like Yvonne is, every time I made a mistake on her book layout, Linda got an email that said no. So it's bad enough to be a writer looking for a traditional publisher. Oh, and I have a story about that from my last show. But anyway, she was getting all the emails. You work with a traditional publisher, and Yvonne is just like a traditional publisher. She just doesn't give us advances on our books because she doesn't charge anything. She takes the brunt of the Amazon anxiety away from us. That was one of the most heartbreaking things to work because they kept telling me the same thing over and over and over, but they weren't explaining it the way Yvonne explained it. And Yvonne said, just send me the book and send me all of the assets is what we call them, all of the images, all of the everything you've got, everything that you did, I need individually. I don't want your PDF. I don't want your JPEG, blah, blah, blah. I just want the individual photos, the graphics. I'll do it. 3 days later, she had the book up. A week later, Linda had sold her first copy. I don't know how she did it. I don't care how she did it. But it took me over a year of fighting with Amazon. And then not only was I getting these, nope, he screwed up, emails, the author was getting them. And that's heartbreaking for an author, especially the authors that have a certain level of expertise with technology. They just don't understand it. I don't know how many times Linda said, just give it up. Stop. But now she's sold, what, 2, 3 copies?
Yeah.
Because Yvonne was there when I was ready to give up. Yvonne said, no, I'll do it. I can make it work. I don't know what you did. I don't care what you did. It's magic. People are buying the book, and we move on from there.
And I'm waiting on her to send me another one once she takes care of her daughter.
Yep. As soon as Sherry's, out of the woods here.
And this is what I do, ladies and gentlemen. And I used to pay for my book covers. I paid a wonderful graphic artist, Debbie DeSantis. I am forever grateful for her doing my book covers. And I'm going to tell you, my book covers were never under $400. never under $400. And that was only for a paperback cover because at that time Amazon was not offering hardcovers. So it was only for the paperback. If she had had to do a hardcover, it probably would have been more because hardcovers, like Mary showed you, you have to allow for what's called a wrap around the
Exactly,
book.
exactly.
The spine is thicker, it's wider, and you have a wrap. And if any of the graphics, see
You
the
can
difference.
see the difference right here.
And
How much
if
thicker.
any of the graphics or the print is below the wrap line, they're going to kick it back. So you have to allow for that. That was the reason that Mary's name was on the legs of the jester.
Yeah.
Any lower than that, and Amazon said, "What the hell are you doing? We're not printing it until you give us what we want. It's not what you want, it's what
And
we have to have."
and because at the time I was still clutching. I was like, "Oh, it's my book. I want it done my way. You can't do it your way. You have to do it my way." And this is why Yvonne said, "All right, Mary, I'm going to do it the way you want it. But this is it. I'm not doing it anymore. You have to take it or leave it." And that's why you see the difference in the size. Now, granted, this is not a paperback, but the paperback and the hard copy are basically the same now. She had to move. I wanted my name down there on the bottom where it was not. It's the same place, so she had to make some adjustments. She had to shrink my little gesture guy.
It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. You
Yeah.
have to understand Amazon makes us do what they have to do to make your book printable. It
And
is. Go
there's a
ahead.
reason for everything. And the reason that Amazon is such a stickler is because they don't want to have to adjust their equipment for my book, Linda's book, Sherry's book. They want every book that is a 6x9 to come off that machine ready because they print a copy or they might print 10,000 copies, but it doesn't matter. They print on demand and they want to make sure that their machine doesn't have to be recalibrated every single time.
So
I've worked with traditional printers for my first 3 books, and you had to do that. I mean, they have particular requirements too, and they will tell you, well, we have to reset this machine just for your book.
and and
Amazon
that
doesn't do that.
and that costs money. It's called typesetting.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you a backstory. I had to order some pens for our JCI Senate Florida Foundation for our high donors. The what they call the typesetting or the mock-up for them to typeset this one pen, it cost me $300, or it cost the foundation $300 for the typeset, just for our
Setup fee.
pen. And that means the typeset included everything we wanted on that pen, plus the design of the pen. Same thing with Amazon. Every time I send Amazon a book, it has to meet their specific dimensions in order to keep the cost down. They've already had to go up in printing cost because of paper, because of just the way things are. But they still keep them affordable because me as the publisher, I get to set the price. And I set the price so that my authors get the biggest bang for their buck after the printing cost. For instance, if Mary's printing cost for Faith and Follies is $6.99, that's what it costs to print that book, then I want to at least charge $12.99 to the customer so that she gets a higher royalty. And even in worldwide distribution, the royalties are not that much, and they've cut off a lot of the worldwide distribution. There are some countries that we can't sell to because they won't let us anymore because of the pricing.
Yep.
So when I do worldwide distribution, it sometimes it will go depending on hardback versus paperback versus Kindle. Kindle goes everywhere because there's nothing involved but
It's electronic.
it's electronic. Hardback and paperback, they have restricted our worldwide distribution. So all of that is taken into consideration when I do a book. We do 6x9s because 6x9s are cost effective to print. Author copies are not that expensive. An author can buy one copy, 10 copies, 20 copies, a combination of hardback and paperback, and it doesn't cost them an arm and a leg. They pay me, I send it to them, it's drop shipped to them, and they don't have mountains of books that they had to purchase in order to get published. So when I tell you as an author, this is the way it has to be, understand it's not up for discussion. It is not. I am
Now,
not going to I'm not going to fight with authors. I'm not going to do it. If
like the children's books, they're a different size, and that's because a children's um, illustrated book wouldn't look good in this size.
no.
It has to be a little bigger so you can make the font bigger, so you can make the images bigger. It's all about how it looks to a child, not so much what it feels like in your hand. And so if Yvonne was doing all possible book sizes, like a traditional publisher, she would never ever have time to walk her dog or do anything because she'd be constantly changing her formatting size, and that's another reason that Amazon does things the way they do. They don't want to be changed. I mean, they give you the option to change your book size. You can make it huge. Now, like Sherry Ann's book was a coffee table book.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be a little bigger. And but other than that, there's, don't be coming to Yvonne saying, I want a 17.5 by 11. Oh, is this a coffee table book? No, it's not. It's just a regular book. No, sorry.
Number
Follow
one,
the
you can't afford it.
guidelines. Be grateful. Be grateful, people. She's doing us a tremendous service. Case in point, I was at a book sale, book event, Saturday in Oviedo at the mall. Was well attended. I was the invisible woman. I don't know what happened. I had a beautiful display. I was very pleased with how it looked. I got a handful of people. I think I sold 4 books all day long. The woman to my left was knocking them dead. The man to my right was knocking them dead and digging a hole and putting them in it and putting flowers on top of the grave too. They would look at her and go buy a book, and they walk right past me, didn't even look at me. And then they go next to Stephen and buy a book for themselves and another book for their brother and another book for their brother's uncle and all kinds of crazy things. But I had this woman come up to me and she got really excited about my children's books. And she was looking at them and she said, well, who did the illustrations on this one? And I said, well, that one I did with AI. And this one I did with a traditional artist. It was her first book. She worked with me, and now she's told me that her fee for going forward is $3,000. And the woman said, well, she's right in line with what everybody else does. The cheapest I can find is $2,500. And I said, oh. I said, that's still pretty steep for somebody who hasn't sold a single copy. She said, oh, well, I'm working with a traditional publisher, and they said that it's up to me to find my illustrator and hire them and have them do the work. That is not a traditional publisher, folks, because as soon as she left, Stephen and I got to be really good friends. Our tables butted up to each other, and he just reached across and tapped me on the shoulder. He says, traditional publisher, huh? I said, no. That woman is not using a traditional. not a real. She's paying them for the service because if I go to Random House, the only one I can think of right off the top of my head right now, but I go to Random House and they say, I want to publish your children's book, just send me the words. That's all they want from me. They might want my headshot, they might want my bio. They do not want me touching the images because they already have illustrators on board who they are paying. They'll pay this illustrator a flat fee, $2,000-$3,000. They do the drawings, move on. Now there are some people that, just like the young lady that did my illustrations, she and I had an agreement that I would pay her in books, and then she sells them and she moves on. But I could have come up with another arrangement. Like I'm working with, well, I'm waiting to hear back from a audio guy for my Audible for Steep Steps. If I don't hear back from him in a couple of days, I'm going to tell Yvonne, just go with it. I want it read by a man. I think it needs to be in a man's voice. But this guy said that he will work with me, because I reached out to him. He's fairly well known in the Audible Society, Jeff Hayes. And I asked him, what would you require from me to do my Audible? I thought he was going to say $500, even $1,000. He said, no, I do this work on commission. When you make money, I make money. I'm like, okay, let's talk. Of course, he wanted all of my social media links and any information I could give him because he wants to know if I have a following. He may not think I'm big enough, and I may not care. But, it's fun to find out how these other things work. All I have to do with Yvonne is say, please turn it into an Audible. She presses a couple of buttons and chooses a voice for me, and we are ready to run to the races.
The downside to doing what you are attempting to do is this: that Audible book will not be linked to what we have up already. If anybody wants that Audible book, they have to go on Audible and look for it. When you put it, when I do our, and you've seen when I do our books, all 4 formats are on one. If I pull up paperback, you're going to see Audible, Kindle, hardcover, paperback. If it's done separately, and ladies and gentlemen, what Mary is doing is a learning lesson. And I had to learn it the hard way too, because I have a couple of my books I'm trying to get back from someone that I paid hundreds of dollars to put up on Audible way back when. And if you want those particular books, you have to go to Audible to look for them because they're not up under the my paperback, hardback, whatever. So just keep that.
Well, in that case, Yvonne, punch the buttons and make it go Audible. And if he comes through and it's done on a separate platform, that'll be another option out there.
It won't happen that way because you'll have to change the title. Because when I couldn't get the Pink Canary and the Mad Hatter and another one back from where I have it, I've written them several times and I can't get it back. So I changed the title. I changed one word in the title so I could put it up under my name, under my books. And when he said that when you make money, he makes money, he can't guarantee that book will make money. He can't guarantee that.
No.
So if you say, let's say you sell 3 Audible books in a month at let's say you get $3 in commission. He's going to take $1.50 of that, which I think is unfair.
Yeah. I wanted to find out what the process was. Because he creates his books, it sounds like you're listening to a movie.
True. But
Right.
also, what he may or may not have told you is he may use two or three different other people for the voices in that book.
He does.
So they got to get paid somehow.
Yeah.
That I learned early on with the people that have my books. They on
Everybody wants a piece of the pie.
on Mardi Gras Bound, they used four different people, and it cost a pretty penny. I think that book was $1,200,
Yikes.
and it's not even a 100-page book because they have to pay their people. So just keep all that in mind. And ladies and gentlemen, when Amazon put AI Audible out there, they said, okay, you have books out here. Would you be willing to be part of our beta group that does this? I said, sure. So I started putting all of our books up there. We're selling Audibles. We are selling Audibles off of AI voices because there's different voices. There's Southern women, 30 to 40, Southern women, 50 up, Southern men, same age group, regular American voices, men and women, British voices, men and women, different age groups. So, based on the tone of the book, I look for a voice that is indicative of that book. And I get to sample that voice before I say, okay, I like this one, it will do well before I add it to the book. So, the voices blend. Shady Rest. You know, you got this southern Amanda Peacock in Shady Rest. So she was an older southern woman, and it's too cute. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this is what I do for y'all. And feel free to do like Mary, go looking. But there's always something they're not telling you.
Yeah, there's a reason that Yvonne does what she does. There's a reason she does it at no cost to the authors. And it's up to us to accept that this best selling author actually knows what she's talking about. It's up to us to choose to let go of the reins and let her steer the chuck wagon.
My friend Andrea says, here's the book, go do your thing. I don't care, just go do your thing. And I will send her, if I've got a coverment like the Mercenary Files, I had forgotten that her protagonist was redheaded, so she loved the female. She said, Yvonne, did you forget she's redheaded? I said, oh, I can fix that. It's an easy fix. But you got to let the process work, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about the children's books, the very first children's book I did was over 30 years old. And it was all scanned in because it was all on paper. It was all scanned in. And it
Wow.
was black and white. And it was illustrated with pen and pencil. And I had to build that entire thing as a coloring book. That was the very first children's book I did. And it worked. Sherry's book is a coffee table book. So her book is an 8.5 by 11 because coffee table books are bigger. The hardcover book is over $50 because we put colored pictures in there. And the more colored pictures that you put in the book, the more expensive that book is.
And Amazon will ask you point blank, do you have any images? Yes or no? Are they colored? Yes or no? How many do you have?
Exactly. And
And
you are
then they,
charged. You're
yeah,
charged for that. When I did Errol's Journey, I told Bonnie, I am not putting these pictures in color because the book was over 300 pages. If I had put them in color instead of black and white, it would have been almost unaffordable.
nobody can afford to buy the book. And the purpose of writing, there are many purposes for writing, but one of the main purposes that I write is for other people to read. Um, if I just want to write for my own sake, all I need is a journal or a notepad on the computer. I don't need to worry about anybody else. But I want people to read what I've written because I feel, I believe, that's why I was put here. I was put here to write books that people want to read. They're either educational or inspirational. And
or for entertainment. And
yeah,
and even with entertainment, you learn something if you read with an open mind.
absolutely.
And it is the purpose of Midnight Publishing not only to make Mary's dream come true, Sherry's dream come true. I'm watching that woman just blossom. We created a monster, and I love it. And
Yeah.
to make Ellie's dream come true, and Linda Humphrey's dream come true, and Andrea's dream come true, we got to make it affordable, because these people do have a following, and they will read the book. They will tell someone who will tell someone who will tell someone. Plus all the
And
marketing we do.
let me tell you, folks, my first three books, I did it the hard way. And people were telling me, oh, you should use Amazon or you should use Ingram Sparks or whatever. But I heard all these horror stories from other people about why they didn't like them. Well, I didn't think, well, I'm going to be different. If they didn't like them, I'm not going to like them. But that's not the way to look at life. You got to try it, because when I got my first book published, Yvonne mentioned having boxes of books. I had to buy, well, I could have bought as few as 100 copies, but I bought 500 because I wanted to be able to sell them for $10 a piece. If I bought 100 copies, my price would have been higher. If I'd bought 1,000 copies, my price would have been lower. But I couldn't afford to pay for 1,000 copies, my God. I'm still selling from the first 500. I've sold a lot of books, but I can't go to every single book event out there and make people buy my books. They do or they don't. But I had to also factor in, I didn't do this on the first one. I did this on my second one, though. I had to factor in, if somebody sees my book online and they want to buy it, who's going to cover the postage? With Amazon, you don't have to worry about that. If people are using Amazon Prime, which, by the way, this is Amazon Prime Week, so this is a great time to go and buy more books. But if as a self-published author with an outside printer, I had to factor in the cost of printing, the cost of mailing, the cost of the actual envelope. So that made my books cost more than if I sell them through Amazon. And I don't want my books to cost more. I want them to be reasonable for everybody.
And
So
that, and also, Mary, what a lot of people don't factor in is every time we go to an event, we have to pay for that space. We have to recoup. This is what has to be recouped. You have to recoup the cost of the space, the cost of what it cost you to purchase your books, the cost of fuel to get there and home, your time, and a
and if
lot
you're
of,
going some distance, hotel and food.
so that's six things you have to factor in when you decide to publish. So if you do like Mary did and you buy boxes of books, then when you go to those events, you got to recoup the cost of what you purchased those boxes of books for, plus your hotel, the book space, the gas, the food. And even if you're not staying at a hotel, you still need to eat while you're at that event, unless you take
Or at the
stuff.
very least, you need some coffee.
Exactly. Me and
Oh,
coffee. So when we do what we do here and make books affordable, we not only make them affordable for the reader, I make them affordable for the authors. I just sent out 10 books to Rose, and I think her cost to me, including shipping and handling, was $34 and some change. And she will get them drop shipped to her door for her to do with it as she pleases. What I do is somebody says, okay, how much is it going to cost me per copy? So I go in and I bring up one copy, I throw it in my cart just to get an idea, and I say, your book is X amount of dollars plus shipping plus tax. And if they want 10 books, I throw 10 books up there, shoot them a picture up, say, if you still want these, let me know. I will go ahead and pay for them. I will send you an invoice via PayPal. Oh, and PayPal, this is new. PayPal now accepts Venmo.
Oh my.
So that's another thing that PayPal is doing. I send you an invoice via PayPal so that you have it for your records. You pay me through PayPal. I drop it into the book account and we're good. The books come to you in 3 to 4 weeks. People say, why 3 to 4 weeks? Okay, again, it is print on demand. So they have to go in, they have to set it, they have to print it, they have to box it, they have to ship it. And it comes via UPS.
I've got
And
a question.
I have an answer, I'm sure.
Well, finish your thought, then I have a question for you.
Now I'm finished. Go ahead.
Okay. It's Prime Week.
Yes,
Can we, Midnight Publishing authors, make our books go on sale for Prime Week?
I can try.
Just curious if that would boost our sales this week.
Sometimes Amazon will slash them for us.
I know they do that with a Kindle.
They also do that with hard copy and soft copy. Because I've seen them do it. So if I go in and I slash the price, then I got to wait 24 to 72 hours for it to go back up.
Oh.
I don't think we want to do that. If Amazon
Okay.
slashes them, it's done immediately.
Okay.
But with
And
Prime
there's no
Week,
changing on your part.
right, I don't have to do anything. With Prime Week, if you are a Prime, and this is another reason to be a Prime Amazon member, you don't pay for shipping.
That's right. And it only costs like, what, $15 a year?
Yeah, it's not that much.
Not much at all.
So, and the Kindles, ladies and gentlemen, our Kindles are next to nothing. Because it's like Mary said, people, and the Audibles are even less. Because people like their Kindles and they like their Audibles. And if you are with any other publisher, I can guarantee you if they put them up on all 4 formats, they're going to charge you per format. Because each format is a different format that the publisher has to create.
And that was one of my selling points with Yvonne, or her selling points with me, because I had already wrestled so many paperback books, and I tried to get them up on Kindle, and I didn't know what I was doing. Even though I was following Kindle's requirements and rules, they weren't always going together for me. And I was just getting more and more frustrated, and you don't want a frustrated artist, whether it's a musician, a painter, a writer, it doesn't matter, it's all art. And when you get the artist frustrated, it makes it real difficult. That's another reason I admire Yvonne, because she's also an artist. She does oil paintings, she does other like diamond paintings, and she does her books, and she's designing these covers, but she's also doing all the administrative behind the scenes stuff for us. And the formatting is a special kind of art too, but it's art like an engineer uses. It's really mind-boggling sometimes. And she's still writing. She's
Yep.
working on her sequel to Murder in the Village, and it's called Duct
Duct tape,
Duct
tarp, and a
Tape.
shovel.
Yeah. So, and that came about in the middle of the aisle in the hardware store or
That's
something
the
like
one.
that.
Yep. It
But
all started in the middle.
I love it because I mean people who have read Murder in the Village are sending her centerpieces and amazing little bits and pieces of art to go along with this. Can you bring
Centerpiece.
that closer because you can't really see it well?
Hold on. Here we are. Centerpiece.
Look at
Murder in
this,
the Village.
y'all.
That's the centerpiece my daughter did for duct tape, tarp, and a shovel. The spoon is the shovel. The tarp is sitting by the skeleton. The duct tape's below it. You see the two bodies,
Yep,
and then you see the criminal. My daughter Brandy created this.
I love it. I love it.
She's as twisted as her mother. And of course, the stuff around is the ground, and then the skull.
I love it.
But she is an amazing artist herself. She just did flowers for a wedding this month. She is an amazing artist. If you need centerpieces or if you need wreaths, contact Brandy Highfield. She's on my Facebook page. But she said, "Mama, you got to show that." So Mama's showing it. Duct tape
Yeah,
tarp.
I love it. Brandy, you did good, girlfriend. You did good. And, to have people in your world who get so invested in you is nothing short of phenomenal. Look at Sherry.
I
She's got
know.
a magazine now asking, will you let us review your book? Will
Yeah.
you allow us, give us the cover picture so we can post it in our magazine? I
And her
love that for
question,
her.
well, her question to me this morning about it was almost apologetic. I think she was expecting a rejection. Not from this old white woman. No,
Uh-uh, uh-uh. I
never.
don't I don't think rejection's in your vocabulary except
It
for a
could
few
be.
people. A
It
few
could be. Keep pushing the buttons and it could be. But back to the children's books. Ladies and gentlemen, the children's books are 8.5 by 8.5. And we're going to talk about this for a minute. Mary and I were talking about this before the show. When graphics are done for children's books, I don't care if they're hand drawn illustrations, I don't care if they're done by AI. No two illustrations will ever be the same. Never, ever, ever, never, ever.
It's not the only way you can make the illustrations exactly the same is if you copy and paste them.
And why would you
My
want to do
angel
that?
book, that's all done by AI. You they're amazing images, but they're not perfect, neither am I. This book lends itself to each page being different. There's not a main character. But then you've got a book like Sally's Heart, which has won an award, and I'm thrilled. And in fact, when I was at my book sale, they were looking at this and they thought this was Sally. No, this is Sally. But you see, we see Sally from the back. There's a reason for that. This was done by an amazing artist. Her name is, I just call her Jay. Sadisaban. Jay Cherie. Um, she and I worked on this book together, but if you look here, here's a couple of pictures of Sally from the back. Now, Sally's got a heart on the back of her shirt, because the book's about Sally's heart. Here's one of Sally from the side. You don't see a lot of features on Sally. You don't see that, illustrating is not photography. If um, Yvonne wants to take a picture of somebody, I'm trying to find another picture of Sally, but I don't know where she is. The point is, she did this book so that you wouldn't see Sally's face. Now, Yvonne used to go to JCI Senate, and she was their official photographer. Are you still?
No, I retired.
Okay.
I fulfill my obligation. I said, y'all have it, young ones, y'all have it. I'm done. I want to do other things with my photography now.
But she was taking hundreds, thousands of photos at these events. Now, you can look at the two of us sitting right here. My hair in one picture it might look beautiful, and then I turn my head like this, and it's like, what's going on over there? And this is real life. There's no way that she can, any photographer, wedding photographer, baby photographers, family reunions, you get everybody together and you're taking pictures, and there's, God bless her, my darling Linda, who inspired Sally's heart. That woman has never had her eyes open in a photo since she was 8 years old. For whatever reason, her eyes, she's always blinking, or she's always just has her eyes closed. And I remember once we actually got a picture of her beautiful blue eyes. I think they're blue. And everybody was like, oh my God, Linda's eyes are open. But you're going to have somebody who's caught like this. They might be speaking to their neighbor. Their words come out looking weird. And you cannot make a perfect picture. Whether you're drawing it, painting it, using digital programs, there's just no way that you can make it exactly the same for every image. Now, there are ways that you can get consistency among your characters if you're using AI. But consistency isn't copy and paste Stepford wife, perfect marriage image. It just doesn't happen. And any artist who is worth his or her weight in rock salt, because gold is out of the world, but it doesn't matter. If they're worth a nickel, they're going to tell you, I can't make all of your cartoon characters look exactly the same. And that's why artists like Jay do Sally from the back. So you don't have to worry about it. There are many tricks and ways to do this. And I know, Yvonne, you're working on a book with animals and forest creatures and the alphabet. And those aren't going to all be exactly the same. What's
No.
the name of the book?
It's Fantasy Forest. It was a book that my mother wanted to write before she died, and she took the names of all of her grandchildren and used their names for animals in the forest. And in this fantasy forest, everybody got along. Well, that book never came to fruition because she said she wasn't good enough. But she was. She was talking about artist. She was mixing media before the art world said, oh, you can mix media. She was mixing oils and watercolors and oils and acrylics and oils and pastels before the art world said, oh, you can do that. She's going, oh, why can't I? And she's doing it. But she never thought she was good enough to write, but she was. So Mary and I were talking about children's books, and in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, all of these little creatures were talking to me. And I have put up a few of the graphics that I have done for these creatures. And every time I go to build a new graphic, I change it. And there's a reason for it. I was told that children like continuity. No, children like excitement. They don't want to turn the page and see the same graphic. They really don't. It's boring. It really is. Children want to be able to learn new things and see new things. Case in point, when I was in school and I was in first grade, and those of you who are of this age, and we had the little C, Dick, and Jane primers, it was boring. I was already finished with that stupid little book at 6 years old, while the others were still struggling at the first page. Not only were the words boring, the pictures were boring.
Yes.
There was no depth. When I create if I'm given a book and there's no graphics and I start creating graphics, the story is running like a movie in my head. And those of you who are writers understand this. I know Mary does. It's like a movie.
Yep.
And the graphics, literally like the words of my books, create themselves. There's depth to those graphics. And there's depth because I'm going to tell you what. I don't know if our children are born smarter or if we were just repressed as children.
I think you got it the second time.
I could read and write before I ever went to school. I was 5 years old and answering the phone for my father's business at 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time, and I didn't go to kindergarten because they didn't have it. So by the time I got to first grade, when I'm having to read this boring Dick and Jane book, I'm ready to pull my hair out. When I was in third grade, I was reading on seventh grade level. So when you have a 2-year-old and you're reading a book to and you're going, see, Dick and Jane? See, Dick and Jane? They're just standing there. Yeah, Dick and Jane. Yeah. Okay.
What are Dick and Jane doing?
I'm done, Mommy.
See Dick run. See
I gotta
Jane
go,
run.
Mommy. It's boring. Children love depth. I've got a 4-year-old great granddaughter who thinks she's 40. She's in preschool. And after lunch, the teacher said, now we all going to lay down on our mats and take a 30-minute nap. And she propped her hand on her hip and she says, I'm 4 years old. I don't take naps.
Not at all.
This girl is very, very smart. She could probably outread her grandmother. I'm not going to give her a boring book that represses her mind. I want her mind stretched beyond limits. I want her to understand why Sally's heart was donated.
Yeah.
I want her to understand why there are angels in different forms and pets and butterflies and the clouds. I want her to see things, experience things. Cornfield Flyers of East Tennessee, I want her to see those children talking about things that are important to them. And there's one little poem or story where this child talks about death. And somebody says, oh no, children don't need to talk about it. Oh yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting ready to write one now.
They really do. Because death is part of living. And the younger that a child is able to understand that death is not the end, it's a new beginning, and that it's okay, and that we all have an expiration date, the better off the more well-rounded that child is. Am I right, Mary?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
You don't want to. Oh, I remember when I was a child, we didn't discuss the human anatomy in actual terms. And I was probably 12 when I was introduced to Shakespeare. I'm trying really hard to make this proper for human consumption. But my parents gave our body parts cute little names. And I read Shakespeare for the first time, and someone got stabbed by someone else's dagger. I think I ran out of the room screaming because I couldn't understand, number one, how that was possible, why you would do it. I could have understood if he was stabbed with a knife. But dagger was one of those cute little terms for a boy's
Body part.
anatomy. And I raised my kids knowing this is what it's called, this is what it's used for, this is, they didn't walk around going, oh, well, my little
What if
whatchamacallit hurts or whatever. They would come to me and say, Mom, I got a problem with my elbow. Of course, my younger one probably would have called it his ulna instead of his elbow because he was very into anatomy. But I think ulna is the name of the elbow bone. But anyway, they knew when they started sports if they had torn or broken a femur or a meniscus. They knew what body parts they were talking about, and their coaches were just, wow. You didn't just say my leg hurts. You had to go there. You had to tell me that, yeah, I think I separated the trapezius from the whatever, the deltoid. And, dude, your shoulder's dislocated. Oh, really? Well, it felt like my trapezius. Trapezoid or whatever it's called. I don't know. I don't know these words, but they knew them.
and our children need, and I agree with Mary, our children need to be educated. And if they're educated in the right way, then when they get older, they're not using words they fully don't understand and in the wrong vernacular.
And if the Joneses use the term, let's just say we'll use colors. This is not a hand, it's an apple, or it's a red. And this is not an elbow, it's a purple. But then the Greens use numbers. Oh, this is a 4, and this is a 2. Then the kids get together, they start discussing these. Well, my purple hurts. No, that's your 4. It's really confusing because people come up with their own pet names for different body parts. And why not just call it what it is?
And that there's nothing wrong with that. It's the medical vernacular.
Yeah.
And used in the right way. In fact, the F word was not always an ugly word.
No, it was not.
I dare y'all. In fact, I challenge you to go look it up. It was not always one of the words we don't say out loud. It was not. And it did not always
It was
mean,
an acronym.
yes. And it didn't
It was
always
an
mean
acronym.
what we've made it mean now.
Yeah. And there are also symbols that we use with our fingers to show distaste and to insult people. And it's interesting, in different countries, different hand signals mean different things.
Yep.
So I probably just cursed out 60 people right now. We call that A-OK. We call this peace. We call this good job. But in other countries, those 3 things can mean very different things. And there was the symbol that we use with our middle finger that means bad things to people and can start fights.
Oh, yeah.
That is because once upon a time in jolly old England, during the medieval times, I think, people who were hungry would take their bow and arrow out to the king's forest, and they'd go find them a wild boar, a wild deer, a wild rabbit. It didn't matter. They were hungry. They'd go kill an animal, bring it to their village, and they'd eat it and feed their neighbors. Well, the king, it's mine. You can't have my stuff. I don't care that I'm fat and you're skinny and I have more than I could ever eat in my lifetime. It's mine. So they started calling them poachers, and they were, I guess. But if they caught you shooting one of the king's animals, they would chop off your fletching finger. Because
Mhm.
when you use a bow and arrow, you're holding it, and you hold the arrow, the string here, and then you guide it this way. And then this finger is very important. I think it had to curl behind it.
Mhm.
But they would cut this middle finger off. And the biggest insult to the king was to hold up. I always tell people I don't just shoot you the bird. I use two fingers, but they would hold up just one of their fingers to show I still can shoot you or your animals with my arrow. And so it became a sign of defiance, and it still is. And so I would encourage people, if you think something is an insult, look it up. Don't assume somebody's insulting you. Because I got two thumbs.
So that's your history lesson for the day, folks. See, we just don't talk about books, though books are our passion. But in wrapping this up, I want to let you know that Ellie Ryan's book Secrets is now available for pre-order on Kindle. Errol's Journey by Bonnie Clark is available for pre-order on Kindle. The Mercenary Files by Andrea Dean Van Scoyoc is also available for pre-order on Kindle, and so is Mary's Steep Steps, available for pre-order on Kindle. And Wags is now available for pre-order on Kindle. Where's Wags by Linda Podrick and
Rose.
Rose Podrick. All five of those books are available for pre-order on Kindle. They all go live on the 27th of October. Once they go live, I will put the Mercenary Files, Errol's Journey, um, Secrets up on Audible, and if Mary wants me to go with hers, I will. She'll let me
I
know.
do. I do. Go ahead.
Okay, it's a done deal. Put it up on Audible. So I can't put Wags up on Where's Wags up on Audible because children's books of that age group do not come in chapters, and they also have graphics. So Amazon says no, we don't think so, and it's too hard. Mary and I've already learned it's too hard to have the author read it because again, Amazon requires certain gigahertz, certain speech patterns, and it's just not feasible. And we're not going to pay thousands of dollars for a 20-page book for a child. It ain't happening.
No.
Children can learn to read on Kindle or the book. It's that simple. So, to recap, there are certain things that Amazon requires. And I don't care if you're publishing with me or if you're publishing with Random House or if you're publishing with ABC Vanity Press. I don't care. It's the same requirement. The same for the formatting of the books. Because they
Yep.
have to put those books up just like I do. I don't have the overhead they have. So here at Midnight Publishing, even though I pay for all the program, and this was another thing we didn't talk about, I pay for all the programs I use. Every one of them. The graphics program, the Photoshop program, the formatting programs, the Adobe program, the other photo program I use, the other formatting program I use. If y'all knew how many programs I use to put your book up.
And I will tell you that when I was doing the images, well, I still do other graphic arts, I used 5 to 6 for one image. Sometimes, because you don't want to necessarily take exactly what AI gives you. You want to make it yours. And that requires extra programs. They're not cheap, folks.
No, they're not.
And there's a learning curve that looks a lot like a trapezoid.
Some days I walk away because I'm going, but I never give up. One of the greatest things that I'm proudest of, and I know I go back to Sherry Ann, but y'all have to understand Sherry Ann's journey. I've been friends with her for years. I've watched her in the bottom of the pit. One of the greatest book covers that I'm proud of is her book cover, because she asked me, she said, Yvonne, would it be possible to use the cocoa bean that has the boa constrictor in the middle of it? Cocoa beans get like this, they're huge. And I thought, I can do that, but I need to start the story on the front of this cover. It has to be more than just the cocoa bean. So I added that beautiful chocolate dahlia. I put the cocoa bean in the middle of it, and then I opaqued the dahlia and put it on top of the solid cover. It started the story. Did it take a hot minute? You know it did.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't accept the first draft I do. I never accept.
It's
Unless it's,
very rare that the first draft is what you need.
yeah, very rare. And if it blows me out of the water, then that's it. But it also, what people don't understand is I am on my computer from the time I get up, anywhere between 4 and 7 in the morning, depending on if I sleep or not, to way, way late in the afternoon. And then sometimes I come back to it. And if Mary puts up something, if one of Mary's schedules promos pops up, it goes everywhere.
I love that about you. Nobody else does that.
And the first place it goes
My
up
own family doesn't do that.
first place it goes up is on Midnight Publishing. Then it goes up on all the other pages. Then it goes as a feed up on all of our social media pages. This is how our folks get out.
And I want to take this moment to talk to all of the Midnight Publishing authors. You have undiscovered gold right here in Yvonne. If you promote your books a little bit, she will promote your books 5 times as much. If you promote your books like I do several times every single day, she is going to snag that and use it. And her audience is so much bigger than ours. There's no reason to just wait for Yvonne to be the only one promoting your book, because she will promote you from what you give her. And I don't tag her. I might tag Midnight Publishing, but I don't go around going, oh, I need to tell Yvonne I put this up, or text her that I put a new post up. I just do it because I use a program called Canva. And it gives me the opportunity, now I do pay for it, but it gives me the opportunity to schedule my posts. And I was so proud. In August, I had posts scheduled through the middle of October, and I looked at my calendar on it last night. I'm like, oh my God, it's the middle of October. I gotta get my posts out. But for 6 weeks, I didn't have to worry about it. I just did them, and Yvonne just snags them, and she promotes them like wildfire. So don't sleep on this opportunity to let everybody know about all of your books, because right now I'm really pushing Steep Steps. But next week I might throw in some stuff about Sally's Heart, or who knows, Faith and Folly. There's all kinds of things that I can, and sometimes, I mean, I'm also running a special on my first 5 books, which Faith and Folly becomes number 6, and it becomes a bonus.
There
you buy all 5 of my first books for $50 right now, between now and the end of the year, I'll throw in Faith and Folly for you. I will sign them all, and you've got 6 gifts for
And
the
see, and
holiday.
that's through her personally. That's not through Amazon. You
Nope.
email her and let her know what you want. She will tell you how to get it. And real quick, I got to tell you folks, our YouTube site, just our YouTube site, 11,000 subscribers and viewers.
Wow.
11,000, and it's growing. Our website, I looked this morning and we were like 15 away from 1,300 views. We have over 800 um, people that go on there. Between all of my pages, Off the Chain, Indie Authors, my Yvonne Sewell site, and my author site, and my Yvonne Mason Facebook page, just on Yvonne Mason alone, there's almost 4,000 people, not counting followers. I'm talking quote unquote friends. 4,000,
Yeah.
not counting followers. There's about that many on the other 4 or 5 pages.
And they're not all the same people.
No, they're not. Then I have Tumblr, Blogger, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Monstadon, LinkedIn. Who else? Twitter or X,
Yep.
and everything goes up there. Then we have the podcast, which goes up on Spotify for creators. So it's on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, the website, plus all of the pages, plus all the other social medias. This is what we do because this is my passion. This is a gift from God, and I just want to share it. And I want God to get the glory, but I want y'all to understand that what we do for you, and Mary's very good, what we do for you all for free, you could not afford otherwise. Just saying. That's my sermon for the day. And we're going to close this session because I have to go bowl until March. I mean, we could run another 2 hours, but we'll close for the day.
Yeah.
And
be
we'll
back
get
next
together
Wednesday. And of course, don't forget Yvonne does a live every morning.
every morning.
I do a live every now and then.
Well, there's always something going on. There's always something new going on.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I'm going to, if I didn't already brag on Sherry this morning, I might have. In fact, I did brag on Sherry this morning.
You did.
So once again, Sherry, kudos, my love. Thank you so much. You are wonderful.
So proud of you, Cherry. You have no idea. So proud.
So proud of you. And if you send me children's books, understand that they're a whole different animal. They have a bleed and they have to be done right. Just saying. She's getting choked, so she's put me on mute.
Gotta go, folks. Bye.
Bye. Love you.